Okay, so imagine this for a second. You are at the absolute pinnacle of the music world. You're Usher. You've basically defined R&B for, what, 2 decades. You've got the Grammys, the Diamond albums, all of it, and everyone is just waiting for your next big, polished, blockbuster album.
The next Confessions, basically, the
Yeah,
magnum opus.
exactly. But instead of that, you go into a studio with the absolute godfather of Atlanta trap music. You knock out 8 songs in what feels like a weekend, and then you just drop it with like 24 hours notice, no big marketing plan, just boom, here it is.
It's the whole surprise drop thing, but, you know, when a Beyonce or Drake does it, you can feel the calculation behind it.
Mm-hmm.
This felt different.
This felt like an accident, like a glitch.
That's a really good way to put it. It felt like a detour, for sure.
So today, we're diving deep into that very glitch. We're looking at the 2018 collaborative album, simply called A. Usher and Zaytoven. 8 tracks of, well, brilliance, confusion, and a whole lot of critical backlash.
And it's just a fascinating look at what happens when a true legacy artist tries to run at the same speed as the new generation.
We've got the backstory, we've got the pretty scathing reviews, and we have the sales numbers, which, spoiler, are genuinely shocking. Our mission today is to figure out, was this a misunderstood moment of pure spontaneity, or was it, as some critics claimed, a desperate play to stay relevant?
To even start to answer that, we have to go back to October 2018.
All right, set the scene for us.
Okay, so it's October 11th, 2018. Trap music is.
Yeah.
It's not just a genre, it's the dominant sound of pop culture. You hear those hi-hats everywhere. And then out of nowhere, Usher makes an announcement.
And when you say announcement, you mean he just posts, hey, album tomorrow.
Literally, October 12th, it's out.
That's such a power move.
It is, but what's so interesting is the backstory of how it even came to be. Usher told The Fader around that time that they weren't even trying to make this album.
Right, I saw that. They were working on his, quote, future album, the big one.
Exactly, the real follow-up to Hard to Love. But they're in the studio, they make one track, it works, they make another. And Usher said they just found a chemistry, a rhythm, and they just kept going.
You know, I actually love that. It feels so anti-industry. Usually an artist at his level, everything is approved by committee, by focus groups. This just sounds like 2 guys vibing.
It really does.
Yeah.
And it speaks to a chemistry they already had. I mean, we should be clear, this wasn't the first time they'd worked together.
No, they had a history.
Yeah, you go back to 2010, on the Raymond v. Raymond album, Zaytoven produced Papers.
Which was a huge song. Papers was everywhere, but Papers still felt like an Usher song. It was smoother. It was an R&B track with trap elements.
Precisely. Papers was Usher dipping a toe in Zaytoven's world. A was Usher doing a cannonball into the deep end. And the title A, I mean, it's obviously for Atlanta.
Yeah, it's a total homage to the city.
Which is what makes the recording location kind of funny.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. It was recorded at Westlake in West Hollywood.
So you have these 2 Atlanta icons sitting in sunny California, making this album that's supposed to be a love letter to their hometown.
It's a little strange, but I guess if you have Usher and Zaytoven in a room, you know, Atlanta's in the room with them. The spirit is there.
For sure. And people in the industry kind of knew something was up. Mark Pitts from RCA had been posting photos on Instagram of them in the studio for a few months.
But nobody knew it was going to be a full collaborative album dropped overnight. And they definitely didn't expect the whole aesthetic around it.
Oh, absolutely. This is where it goes from just a mixtape to something more. The cover was designed by Virgil Abloh.
Which, in 2018, that was the ultimate cosign. I mean, Virgil was Louis Vuitton, he was Off-White, he was the absolute center of culture.
Totally. And the cover has his signature style all over it. The Helvetica font, the quotation marks, that kind of industrial minimalist look. It immediately framed the album as like a piece of high art.
It's a signal to the listener, right? It says, this is cool, this is important.
And the trailer they released just doubled down on that. It's just them driving around Atlanta, going to Waffle House, skating rinks, really grounding it in the city.
It's like they were stamping its passport, even though they made it in L.A.
Exactly. So the packaging, the story, it's all perfect.
Yeah.
But then you actually have to press play.
And that's where it gets a little complicated.
Yeah.
Because you're taking one of the greatest, smoothest vocalists of all time and putting him on top of Zaytoven beats.
And we should probably define that sound for anyone who doesn't know. Zaytoven's sound is very distinct. It's not generic trap. It's got those church organs, the flutes, and these really frantic rolling hi-hats. It's busy.
It's nervous music. It's jittery. It feels like you just had way too much coffee.
Right. And that sound is usually for rappers like Gucci Mane or Migos, who have this very percussive, choppy flow. They kind of ride the chaos. Usher floats over a track. He needs that space to do his runs.
So it's like asking a ballet dancer to perform in a mosh pit.
Or maybe it's a brilliant fusion. But let's talk about the structure. It is short.
Very short. 8 songs, what, 27 minutes?
27 minutes and 9 seconds. I mean, in an era where artists are dropping these massive, bloated albums to get streaming numbers, it's incredibly concise.
I appreciate that, actually. It feels more like an EP. It respects your time.
It does. And a really key detail is that Zaytoven produced the entire thing, every single track. That is so rare for a major artist. It's a singular vision.
Just Zay. And to keep that Atlanta vibe going, the guests are very, very specific.
Yeah, the list is short. You get Future on Stay at Home, and you get Gunna on Gift Shop.
Future and Usher on a track together is just a wild idea. You have the king of smooth romance and the king of toxic, auto-tuned heartache.
And that leads into the content. Because what is Usher actually singing about here? It's not the deep, dramatic heartbreak of his classic stuff.
No, looking at the titles, Peace Sign, Gift Shop, Birthday, we're definitely in a different territory.
We are. And this was the first real problem for a lot of people. Usher changed his songwriting to fit the trap vibe. And lyrically, trap is often about, the lifestyle, the club, the money.
Look at my watch, look at my car.
Pretty much.
Ugh.
And hearing Usher, a grown man, a veteran, singing about these gift shop scenarios, it just felt off to a lot of his fans.
It's like he was wearing a costume.
Exactly. And that brings us to the reception. Because, oh boy, the reception was something else.
Something else is a very diplomatic way of putting it.
Well, let's start with the numbers. The commercial performance.
It debuted at number 31 on the Billboard 200.
Number 31. For Usher. A guy who sold 1 million copies of Confessions in 1 week.
That's a disaster.
It's historically low for him. It sold 15,000 album equivalent units in the first week.
15,000, that's all.
And listen to this. Only 4,000 of those were pure album sales. Actual people buying the album.
4,000. I know streaming changed everything, but that is a shockingly low number for an artist of his stature.
It showed that his core audience, the people who buy Usher albums, they just didn't show up for this one.
Okay, so the fans didn't buy it, but what about the critics? Maybe it was a critical darling that the public just didn't get.
The critics largely sided with the public. The consensus was mixed to negative, to put it mildly.
I'm looking at some of these quotes. Rolling Stone was brutal. Elias Light wrote, on A, Usher moves with the times, and that's a bad thing.
That's a devastating line. It's basically saying that his attempt to evolve was a mistake.
It's the whole uncle at the club argument. Like, just be the cool uncle. Don't try to dress like the kids.
Exactly. And AllMusic got into the specifics of why it didn't work. They called it inspired if mechanical.
Mechanical, that's a rough word.
They said his superior vocal dexterity was almost neutralized by overly familiar scenarios and materialistic lyrical tropes.
So basically, his voice is a Ferrari engine, but he's stuck driving it in a 20-mile-per-hour school zone. The trap format limited what he could do vocally.
That was the argument, and it just kept coming. 34th Street Magazine called it an uneven 27 minutes.
And Medium just wrote it off completely. The less said about his AEP, the better.
Just erase it from memory.
But was there anyone who liked it? Because I do remember hearing Peace Sign and thinking it was a solid track, it had a vibe.
There was a counterpoint, and it came from a kind of surprising place, Pitchfork.
Oh, interesting. Pitchfork usually loves to take down a mainstream artist trying something edgy.
Their writer, Brianna Younger, had a really nuanced take. She admitted it was an awkward fit. She wrote that Zaytoven's minimalist trap isn't always the ideal match for Usher's traditional R&B.
Okay, so she agrees with the basic problem.
She does, but then she says, and this is the key part, when they push both to their extreme, something magical happens.
Something magical. See, I think that's what a lot of the critics missed. It's the friction. The fact that it doesn't fit perfectly is what makes it interesting.
Exactly. If it were perfectly smooth, it would just be a boring pop trap album. But hearing his incredible voice fighting against those chaotic beats, it creates a tension that's really compelling.
Maybe we shouldn't judge it against Confessions. Maybe we should just judge it for what it is. A quick, fun, spontaneous experiment.
A snapshot of a moment in time.
Yeah, a snapshot from 2018.
And if you look at his whole career, this album sits in this strange place between Hard to Love and his new album, Coming Home. It's a bridge.
But a bridge to where he didn't really stick with this sound.
No. but it was a bridge that proved he was still engaged with what was happening in music, even if it flocked. It showed he wasn't just sitting in an ivory tower ignoring the culture. He was willing to get his hands dirty.
That's a really good point. In R&B and hip-hop, if you stop engaging with what's new, you become an oldies act overnight.
And there's nothing wrong with that. You can tour forever on your hits, but it means you're not part of the current conversation anymore. It was Usher saying, I'm still in the conversation.
Even if he's not the one driving the car.
Exactly. So looking back, you have an album that was a commercial failure and a critical punching bag, but it remains this weirdly important artifact in his career.
It kind of feels like a what if?
Yeah.
What if he had fully committed to it? Or was this just something he had to get out of his system before going back to being? Well, Usher.
I think it was a reminder that even for the biggest stars in the world, not everything has to be a perfectly planned 5-year project. Sometimes you can just make music for the fun of it,
And sometimes that fun only lasts for 27 minutes.
and that's okay.
Which really brings me to the final thought I want to leave everyone with. The critics, like Rolling Stone, they slammed him for moving with the times. They wanted him to stay in his R&B lane.
Right? Wear the suit, sing the power ballads.
Yeah. But in an industry that moves so fast now, does an artist like Usher actually need to experiment like this just to stay alive? Is refusing to evolve actually the riskier move?
It's a catch-22, isn't it?
It is. We criticize them when they change. We call it trying too hard. But then we ignore them when they stay the same and we call them dated. It feels like you can't win.
And with A, Usher chose to risk failure over being predictable. He chose to try something new, even if it didn't quite work.
And maybe an artist who's willing to fail in public is ultimately more interesting than one who only plays it safe.
I think that's the real takeaway. It might not be his best album, but it might just be his bravest.